What's going on, boys and girls? My name is Michael SK and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. So last time we went to a festival and that was pretty much it. There wasn't anything really significant, nothing serious happening yet. I still feel like, some serious shit's gonna, come up eventually. I don't know when, but, I've got high hopes. So buckle your seatbelts. Hopefully we'll be going on a roller coaster this time around, but if we don't, I still hope that we have a fantastic time. So I guess let's jump into it. Seed of the World Tree 7. I don't know how many of these Seed of the World Trees are. Apparently all of the chapters or sections in this route are just named the same, so that's lovely. But I don't know if there's like 20 or 30 or how many there may be. We could be halfway and there could be 14. I have absolutely no idea. But I don't know. I'm just hoping that we get through this eventually, because next year I would like to, start some other shit. But I'll explain that in another video. Not this. Don't worry about all that. So this is the day after my birthday. It was back in elementary school that I'm already fucking up because I don't even know why. It was back in elementary school that I first realized I didn't hate running. This discovery wasn't prompted by anything special. I had no friends back then, so I'd often spend my afternoons hurling rocks into the nearby river, killing the time until my mom got back from her job in the city. Not the most stimulating activity, granted, but we had practically no money, and I wasn't a very creative kid. Anyway, early one evening, I was alone at the riverbank playing my usual slightly better than nothing game, hurling flat stones along the surface of the water to see how many times they'd skip. But that day, I noticed a man running along the dirt path that followed the course of the river. Well, that's a slightly misleading way to put it. I'd actually noticed the guy a long time ago, since he ran that route along the river every single day. We'd never so much as exchanged a word, but he'd always pass by at exactly the same time, even on rainy or blustery days. That was the extent of my connection with the guy. I'm sure he wasn't any more interested in me. At most, he was probably vaguely aware of some weird kid who was always out in the grass throwing rocks into the river. That day, a bit of idle speculation ran through my head. That guy must be an athlete. Otherwise, why would you make yourself miserable by running every single day? Maybe he was even a pro of some sort. When you're a pro athlete, keeping yourself in shape's probably just another part of the job. And why would you bother running if it wasn't your job? I sure couldn't see anything fun about it. But when I actually thought it over, I realized that I'd never really gone on a long distance run of my own free will. I didn't really have any reason to. And I'd never felt particularly interested in trying. Wasn't it a little messed up to decide something I'd never even tried was horrible? Maybe there was something fun about it that I just wasn't aware of yet. It was basically just a whim. But it's not like the rock skipping was doing much for me. I started running after school, jogging along with my knapsack on my back. 3 kilos at first, then 5, and eventually 10. Before long, running all the way to my mom's workplace became my daily routine. At first, I wouldn't make it over there until after her shift finished, so I'd usually meet her halfway as she rode home on her bicycle. Things went on like that for maybe half a year, I guess. Little by little, the distance I covered before meeting my mom grew longer, and eventually I managed to get to her workplace before she even left. When she came out that first evening to find me waiting by her bicycle in the parking lot, Mom's eyes went wide with surprise, praising me with the words, "You really are a fast runner, Yuji." She glanced down at my beat-up old sneakers, and despite our extremely meager family finances, she bought me a new pair of running shoes. In the flush of that success, I realized I actually kind of enjoyed running, and I learned that people can't really know something until they experience it. Now I understood. That man who was always passing me by, must have had some big goal of his own. His running must have been his patient, steady way of approaching that objective. I didn't have any evidence, but it felt like the answer. If my sister were still alive, I could definitely beat her in a race now. That sort of childish self-esteem was probably something I needed badly back then. Holy shit, what a setup. You can never truly know something until you try it. You know, I can actually agree with Yuji here, because I didn't really understand running until I started doing a lot of it in middle school, and then especially in my beginning high school years when I joined cross country, and holy shit did that kill me. But once I got the hang of it, and once I truly just started doing it so many damn times, it was a thrill. I actually enjoyed it. So yeah, you can never truly know something until you try it. I didn't really know running until I did it on my own. That man by the river taught me that lesson, and in turn, I want to pass it on to Machina. The ideal here would be something like, I don't know, teaching her the joy of music or something. If I had the talent, I'd gladly play an instrument or sing for her. But like I mentioned, I'm a little weak in the creative arena. And honestly speaking, I'd feel more comfortable starting off by introducing her to things that lie within the field of my expertise. And that field of my expertise happens to be... What's the matter, maggot? Your movements are getting sloppier and sloppier. Alright, fair enough. Machina has been tagging along on my daily running for several weeks now, and lately she's started to participate in a little light exercise afterward as well. When I'm on my own, that usually just means conventional calisthenics and strength training. But I came to realize that Machina's muscles are significantly underdeveloped for a girl her age. Wow, what gave you that idea? There's a lot of things underdeveloped, but I'm not going to go further with that. Thinking that lack of physical endurance might have something to do with her tendency to nod off in the middle of conversations, I started her on a static isometrics, then worked up to a menu featuring more demanding dynamic exercise. I actually taught the girl some very simple self-defense principles a while ago, but I'm taking this opportunity to pass on some basic martial arts. Starting with the fundamentals, progressing to specialized techniques aimed at disarming an opponent with a knife and such, and finally more aggressive skills. With a disclaimer, use these to create yourself an opportunity to run. I think this was in the anime. I think we're finally hitting something that was in the anime. I'm pretty sure the becoming my father thing wasn't in the... I actually can't remember. It's been so damn long since I've watched the anime. After I'm done playing this game or maybe going through this route, maybe I'll rewatch it so I can kind of get a refresher, but no spoilers, please. No one tell me anything about the anime anymore. I can't remember things. At first, I wasn't taking the martial arts element particularly seriously. I'd look at the lessons more or less as a substitute for playing around with her. But before I knew it, Machina was moving in ways that could sometimes startle even me. You really can't underestimate this one. Yeah. Shout from the pit of your stomach. Forcing the air out of your lungs helps push your brain into a state of tension, increasing your reaction time and the burst power of your muscles. Machina is following the fundamentals just as I told her, and she's generally quick on the uptake. Her single largest problem continues to be a complete lack of endurance. Overall, the girl's come a long way in a short time. You're approaching inefficiency. Keep your movements compact. Don't give your opponent a chance to counterattack. Ninja! Always sounds like ninja to me. With another shout of determination, Machina ducks her head and leaps forward, expending all of her remaining stamina on one powerful tackle. Just as I brace myself to block, the girl seems to disappear. It's that so-called slide dash of hers again. Where did she even pick this one up? Wherever it came from, she's good at it. The movement manages to surprise me, and that's no mean feat for an amateur. But that said, not good enough. The abrupt shift downward while maintaining her momentum was magnificent, up until the moment her arms wrapped around my knees. Machina gets perfect marks, but sadly her lower body's just too weak to bring me down. To the girl's credit, that doesn't keep her from trying. Her face bright red from exertion, she strains against my waist, raising a fierce battle cry. Seizing initiative doesn't mean you've won. Also, brute force isn't the only way to take down an opponent. Timing and balance are what really matter. Make use of everything you can. That's the only way you're ever going to bring your enemies down. I reach down, grab Machina's elbows, and lightly push my thumbs down against her. I have no idea what nerves those are. The impact to her funny bones, oh, it's the weenus, sending jolts of numbness running through both arms. Machina abruptly slackens her stubborn grip around my legs. Okay then, my turn now. Startled by the threat and her vulnerable position, Machina instinctively tries to put distance between us. A definite mistake. Anticipating her attempt to back away, I follow smoothly, then give the girl a light push to the upper body, using the force of her retreat against her. With very little effort on my part, she's completely destabilized. Sensing her imminent fall, Machina desperately braces her legs to resist the pull of gravity. Just as she struggles to right herself, I sharply yank the girl toward me, again exploiting her own momentum. And in one smooth movement, I've twisted her body around and wrenched up her arm behind her back. You understand now. If you're lacking in power, just use your opponents instead. The stronger they are, the better it works for you. Once you've mastered this, the title of champion's yours for the taking. I'm telling you, this isn't just theorizing. In the words of the immortal Mr. Lee, don't think, feel. Sense the flow in all that. Listen up, Machina. Thinking before you move slows you down, and more often than not, things won't go the way you plan it anyway. Incidentally, do you understand how I was able to break your grapple so easily just now? You weren't planning to loosen your grip, but you ended up letting go anyway. That's completely natural. When they touch a hot stove, almost anyone will jerk back their hand before they even process what's happening. It's an instantaneous reflex action. Even when you're actually trying to touch the stove, you instinctively withdraw your hand. The part of your brain that controls conscious thought isn't the same as the part that optimizes twitch reactions. Learn to exploit those involuntary reflexes, and you'll be able to control most people's actions without the need for overwhelming force. Damn her and her photographic memory. Yeah, I read that one too. The main feature in that issue was pretty interesting as well. Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of preferences, you always use the same move when you're trying to land a tackle, you know that? That predictability makes it easier to deal with. Ideally, you should be mixing things up, not just sticking with the one style you like best. From now on, let's practice moves you're weaker at and add a little variation to your repertoire. I think I heard something about that before. Human beings are creatures of infinite potential, but it seems like there's still a great deal left to teach you. Hey man, I'll try. Well, learning the theory is important and all, but it's not much good without a foundation of basic physical fitness. That's what we really need to focus on right now. Machina has surprising agility and burst power. She can handle anaerobic exercise well, but endurance-based cardio seems to be a real issue. Despite her fundamentally weak muscles, the girl seems to have a strong heart that pumps a good deal of blood with every beat. As a result, her resting heartbeat's probably fairly low. Maybe those sudden bursts of sleep are the results of brief dips into outright, I don't even know what the fuck, bradycardia? If your circulatory system has something to do with that borderline narcolepsy of yours, developing your muscles might actually reduce the symptoms somewhat.
わかんねえ。お医者様が言うには過度のストレス反応なんだって。まあ、ぶっちゃけ原因不明の言い訳なんだけどな。
Yeah, I don't understand either. In any case, 9 times out of 10, someone who's in poor shape can improve their condition dramatically just by exercising, eating right, and getting enough sleep. Back in my old school, they were great believers in the resilience of the human body. Go run it off was the extent of the medical advice you could expect if you were stupid enough to tell an instructor you'd caught a cold.
でも、あんまり食うとポンポコ状態が慢性化してショックなことになるのよ。
I don't even know. Traumatic? What's so bad about getting a little rounder? Kids are cuter when they have a little meat on their bones.
あのね、去年私が風邪ひいた時にね、あまねえに病院連れてってもらったのな。
You know, I actually caught something really bad, and I almost had to go to the hospital. But the thing is that I'm pretty sure for a cold, you don't go to the hospital. The bad thing that I caught was some form of pneumonia. It wasn't the full-fledged pneumonia. And I was actually threatened to go to the hospital, but I didn't. I just went to the doctor. Maybe it's a different setup here. I don't know.
そしたらな、若いイケメン医師が私に言うのよさ。はい、それじゃあお腹出してくれるかなってね。
Oh, because that's definitely a big deal.
ほんでまあ、自慢のポンポコベリーを見せつけてやったら、あのイケメン医師、聴診器を手に持ったまま顔を横に向けて、失礼って吹き出して笑いやがったのよ。
I think that's, I feel like that's an exaggeration.
軽くムカついたんで、おめえ喧嘩売ってんのかよって文句言ったら、あまねえに後ろから頭こづかれて、思わず、ウップスって言ったら、今度は爆笑された。
Sometimes I just don't even know what to say.
あいつもういいです。
I doubt a doctor who can't even discern the essence of your cuteness could possibly make an accurate diagnosis.
だろ？なあ、私もそう思うのよ。
You can always tell a really excellent doctor by their ability to admit what they don't understand, or so someone or other told me back in the day. That said, I can't deny that excess flab mainly just gets in the way.
あまねえの胸のこと言ってんの？
Not really. Good example. I mean, a little extra fat at the chest and hips is a necessary evil for women, but those things are going to be a real nuisance when the girl goes golfing. Personally, as long as we don't get into HWAC territory, I think rounding out a little more would only add to Machina's niche, I don't even know, appeal. But come to think of it, I always did prefer the bumblebee-like curves of a J2M Raiden to the pencil-thin C6 and I don't even know what the fuck I'm reading. Well, I guess that's not particularly relevant.
Huh?
Anyway, I like how sometimes Yuji's thoughts, like at the end, just come out, and it's just really weird. Anyway, for the moment, let's try to avoid restricting your diet and focus on improving your body's basal metabolic rate. I can never pronounce that right. But no matter how much we speed up her metabolism, I doubt this shrimp's capable of burning 3,500 calories a day like a typical company employee. Guess I'll have to figure out a suitable training menu with Mess Sergeant Amine. Just as I'm stroking my chin with a thoughtful my reminiscences are interrupted by the shrill squawking of Machina's digital pet. It's a daily occurrence at this point, but I can still feel my blood pressure rising. Can't say I've ever heard a raid siren this idiotic. It's just your usual 7:30 alarm. We'll conclude our training here for today. Indeed. Take a quick shower before you go to work, okay? Then why have an alarm? That so? Well, I guess a little R&R is necessary every once in a while.
つうわけなんで、ね、
I'd rather not. I don't mind, but what sort of playing did you have in mind specifically?
何でもいいのよ。
That tells me nothing. That's actually the most troublesome possible answer.
パパだっていつもアマネーに同じこと言ってるじゃんさ。
You tell someone that when you really just don't want to do anything. Am I really?
ねえユージ、今晩何食べたいってアマネーが言うといっつも興味なさそうに何でも構わんって言うじゃんね。
Because it's just a sign that you really don't care. Well, most of the time. Well, I see. Looking at it from that angle, I feel like I've gained a little insight into the menu-related suffering Amane must endure on a daily basis. But still, you really want me to decide? Girls at this age are difficult to figure out, especially for men like me. To be honest, I can't even begin to guess what sort of playing Makina would actually enjoy. Oh, wait a second. That's an idea. Maybe it's about time I gave you that.
何？なんかくれんの？
Alright, you've been working hard lately, Makina. I'm impressed. In fact, I think a reward is warranted. Accordingly, I will now bestow you with a splendid present.
何？すっげー楽しみ！
Hella. That said, I'm not exactly confident this sort of present would particularly appeal to your average adolescent girl.